up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, here with us, a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss, such as how upending Miami, how did the Golden Bears do, and what went wrong with the Canes. It wasn't just that upset from the ACC. You also had SMU taking down Louisville and Pitt taking down Louisville. Both were in 5 sets and both were very impressive. Also, how about USC? The women of Detroit took down Wisconsin in the dungeon in 5. Is USC back? We'll have to wait to see. Also, the CIF Southern Section Division I Girls Volleyball Playoff Bracket has been released. It's a 12-team bracket, which I've got quite a bit to say about that. Also, we had an All-USA final in the FIVB Junior U21 Championship. We wound up coming out on top in terms of winning the gold champion role of volleyball. That's next. Some about some volleyball after here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio. Your feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday, wherever you're listening from. Either way, you've made our way in episode 321 of Set Point. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without iSports Radio providing the platform to go live on YouTube and on X. Please do follow iSports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Also, subscribe to them on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it if you were able to. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers, and with your help, we could definitely make it happen. We're slowly but surely trying to make it happen. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone who's a sports fan to subscribe to iSports Radio on YouTube. Also, make sure to check out everything that is iSports Radio, as well as everything such as Set Point. It is on social media, such as X, formerly known as Twitter, at set_point.ie, and on TikTok at set_point.ie as well. You can also follow me personally on X as well, at Teran Rodriguez 1. You can also follow Set Point on Instagram as well, at set_point.iesr. I swear, I promise to you all, I will try to get back into the groove of things in terms of uploading on TikTok. But I digress. For the last 11 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports days around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Vital Apparel. So without any further delay, let's get on into what our sponsors are all about. I'll see you all in a little bit.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors and definitely follow us on social media as well. Like I said, you can follow Setpoint on social media on X and TikTok at set_point.ie. And you can follow me personally on X as well at Teran Rodriguez 1. You can also follow me personally on Instagram at set_point.ie. SR, so definitely do that. And I promise you all, I will jump back onto the TikTok train. But without any further delay, let's get on into the volleyball action. So we got to talk some NCAA Women's Volleyball Week 8 action. So we're already in Week 8, and with it being Week 8, yesterday actually was the NCAA Women's Volleyball Committee's top 16. So every year they always have this. They always have like a top 16 of who is like the best of the bunch in terms of like KPI, RPI, and so on and so forth, and like strength of schedule. List goes on and on. But the week started pretty much on Wednesday. We had number 3 Kentucky taking down Auburn in 4. That was kind of a surprise just because I knew Kentucky might have gotten challenged. I mean, Brent Crouch does a great job with his team. I just didn't think Kentucky at home would have gotten challenged. But gotta give it up to Auburn. They're having a sneaky good year, and they're kind of an on-the-bubble team. So keep an eye on Auburn. But it was another day at the office for Kentucky. They just continue to put in that work. But a team that did kind of see a little bit of a surprise in the SEC was Tennessee, as Florida wound up upending the Lady Vols in 5, which was very impressive if you ask me, as Jordan Bird led the way with 23 kills, while Malika Vidicic added 12 kills. As a team, Florida hit 276, and they had 9 blocks and 65 digs. Tennessee had 5 blocks as a team. They had 80 digs, and they hit 246, as they were led by Hayden Kubik, who had 24 kills, while Peyton Chapman had 15 kills, Chelsea Sutton 13 kills, and Mackenzie Plant had 11 kills. So overall for Florida, this was a big win for them. I think we all seem to forget that Florida is still part of this whole thing, just because they're not in the top 25 does not mean they're not a bad team. I think they're still a pretty solid team. Again, they're still just trying to pick up the pieces with a new head coach and with the departure of Kennedy Martin, who's just crushing it at Penn State. But I think for Florida, this was a great little feather in their cap. I mean, I think they were starting to slow down a little, but now I think with this win, this can definitely propel them. Now, Tennessee is the type of team that I don't think is all that special. I mean, they're good, and they're probably going to be a team that gets out of the first round, but I don't think Tennessee will go too far in terms of the NCAA tournament. And that's no disrespect to the Lady Vols. I think this loss is kind of a case of the SEC is just so deep. I just think that the SEC is just so deep with talent that even the unranked teams can knock off a ranked team like Tennessee. So Tennessee, I just think, just doesn't have the it factor like Kentucky has or Texas has, and so on and so forth. I think Florida is underrated, and I think they're a little underappreciated, especially after being knocked out of the top 25, what seems to be like forever. But I digress. Then you also had number 11 TCU taking down Cincinnati in 4, and then number 20 Baylor taking down Kansas State in 4. And then rounding off the Big 12, you had number 24 Colorado taking down Utah in the Rumble and the Rockies in 4 as well. So pretty good win for Colorado, sweeping the season series against Utah. And then jumping to Thursday, we had number 5 Stanford taking down Florida State in 4. So Florida State is another one of those bubble teams that they're kind of teetering toward either making it or missing it. It feels like Florida State had a massive drop-off after a couple of years of being successful, especially after the 2 years ago when they wound up winning the ACC, or at least sharing it with Pitt, as Stanford was led by Ipar Kurt, who had 18 kills. Aaliyah Rubin had 12 kills, and Jordan Harvey added 11 kills. Stanford as a team, they hit .313 while having 11 blocks and 62 digs to their name. The Noles were led by Kailina Filmawa, who had 11 kills and 11 digs. Victoria David added 9 kills as Florida State hit below 100, which is not going to help you win games. So honestly, Stanford, it was just business as usual for the Cardinal. Nothing too special, if you ask me. Jumping to the Big 12, we had number 7 Arizona State outlasting number 19 BYU in a 5-set barn burner. Now, I told you all last week that Arizona State was going to get challenged because going to Smith Fieldhouse and winning is never easy. But Arizona State was able to squeak out a win, with the 5th set being 15-13. So that's a very good character win right there for the Sun Devils, as they were led by Noemi Glover, who had 19 kills. Bailey Miller added 16 kills. They got 7 kills from Colby Neal, and she also had 10 blocks, which was very impressive. As a team, Arizona State had a whopping 16.5 blocks. They had only 54 digs, but the blocks were the big story for this Sun Devil team. They also hit 289, even though BYU hit 250. BYU was led by Sully Davis, who had 25 kills. Claire Little Chambers added 14 kills, along with 10 digs, and Davis added 11 digs. So overall, it was a great battle. I knew BYU was going to challenge Arizona State, but the Sun Devils, with the talent that they have, I think there's just still on one in terms of being up there in the Big 12. Jumping to the Big 10, we had this little fun matchup, the Battle of Indiana, Purdue versus the Hoosiers, the Indiana Hoosiers. I kind of thought that Indiana was going to actually take this one, but Purdue, being the talented team that they were, even though they had to go on the road, or should I say, quote unquote, on the road, they wound up beating the Hoosiers in 4, which was a very good win on their behalf. Kenna Woolard, she didn't even have the most monster game. She had 18 kills. Akasha Anderson had 9 kills. Grace Heaney had 8 kills. Dior Charles had 8 kills as well. As a team, the Boilermakers hit 293. And even though they only had 40 digs, which I don't think is too characteristic of them, especially in a Big 10 match, they had 11 blocks to their name, while Indiana only had a whopping 6 blocks as a team. And Indiana, I'll give them credit. They hit 262. They were led by Avery Tatum, who had 15 kills. Jaden Jagger had 14 kills, Victoria Gray 10 kills. But honestly, for Indiana, I think I'm starting to undersell Purdue a lot just because I think Purdue is a much better team than what I gave them credit for. I think I honestly thought Purdue wasn't going to be that great, but then Kenna Woolard has just really upped her game. And I think this is a testament to Coach Shondell's team. I think Purdue, even though they got hit hard in terms of the transfer portal, I think this team definitely has a lot of other players that can step up and help deliver the win for them. So a great win for Purdue, winning on the road. I forget what trophy they get. I think, isn't it like the Golden Spike? It's some sort of like Spike trophy, but either way, the Golden Spike will stay in, or I think it's either the Jagged Spike or the Golden Spike. But regardless, Purdue takes round one of this rivalry. So jumping back to the ACC, we had this big upset right here. Cal taking down number 14 Miami in 5 in Northern California in Berkeley. And it was a reverse sweep at that because, man, where did this upset come from? This isn't the first time Cal has pulled off a big win. Remember, they beat Vanderbilt to help clinch the ACC SEC challenge. So you had that right there as Peyton DeHardine led the way with 19 kills. Michaela Hayden and Ashley Lee both had 12 kills. Cal hit 210 as a team. They also had 14 blocks and 48 digs. Miami only had 39 digs and 7 blocks as a team while hitting 163. The Canes were led by, obviously, Flo Marie Heredia Colon, who had 28 kills. But she was kind of the only weapon of choice for the Canes, as Miami, she actually had over half of their kills. And Miami as a team had 50 kills. Their next kill leader was Miriam Mushkudiani, who had 8 kills. So overall for Miami, I feel that they might have had a little bit of a Pitt hangover. Now, they obviously lost to SMU last week, but that's a little bit of an exception. That's like a totally exceptional loss. There's no shame in losing to them. Losing to Cal, however, that's a little bit of a questionable what on earth happened to you. But you got to give credit to Cal. The ACC as a whole, I think, might be the most exciting conference. Like, there's no freebies in the ACC. I mean, yes, there's some due to record-wise, but I don't think you just can't underestimate any opponent. That's just kind of how I look at it. Then we also had Kansas sweeping Houston. No big surprise there. And that was pretty much that in terms of Thursday's notable matches. Now, Friday, we had Nebraska sweeping Michigan State. The Huskers are on a roll. Number 2, Texas swept Arkansas. No surprise there. This was another big upset. We had number 8 SMU taking down Louisville in 5. Number 4 Louisville in 5. As it was a nice little road win for the Mustangs, as set 5 was actually decided 19-17, where Louisville, they wound up hitting it out, which is so unfortunate for the Cardinals. But a huge win for the Mustangs as Malia Jones led the way with 22 kills. Kennedy Rogers and Jaden Livings both had 10 kills. As a team, SMU hit 199, but they held Louisville to 180 as SMU's had 15 blocks and 76 digs, while Louisville had 79 digs and a whopping 18 blocks, as the Cardinals were led by Peyton Peterson, who had 18 kills. Calissa Blackshear had 17 kills. Chloe Chicoine, 12 kills. And Cara Cressy, 10 kills. I was going to say this about Calissa Blackshear. She is getting better by the day, and she is turning out to be one of the best weapons that Louisville has. She is the best kept secret for the Cardinals. Unfortunately for Louisville, they did suffer a tough loss, and it just goes to show that, again, the ACC is just so exciting from top to bottom. You just can't underestimate anybody. But I don't think Louisville was underestimating anybody. That said, I think this might have been a trap game for Louisville just because they had Pitt on Sunday as well, and it could have been so easy to overlook the Mustangs of SMU. But that's just how I look at it. Speaking of 5-setters in the ACC, you had number 6 Pitt needing a reverse sweep to pull off the win against Notre Dame. And man, this was a big this was an interesting matchup right here. I think Louisville wasn't the only one that looked ahead. I think Pitt kind of looked ahead when they took on Notre Dame, because Notre Dame they have seen better days. I don't want to say that negatively about Coach Rockwell's team, but I'm just going to say this. Notre Dame has seen better days. But Pitt, on the other hand, they were able to escape South Bend with a massive win where all sets 1 through 4 were fairly close. Set 3 wasn't as close as sets 1, 2, and 4. Set 5 was a complete one-sided affair where Pitt was able to just win that 15-4, as the Panthers were led by Olivia Babcock, who had 29 kills. She also had 14 digs. Marina Pezzelle, Marina Pezzelle added 12 kills. Blair Bayless had 13 kills. Bayless might be the yin to Olivia Babcock's yang, in my opinion. Pezzelle also had 17 digs to lead them in that category. Olivia Babcock had 14 digs in the dig department. Pitt, as a team, they hit 206 while totaling 8 blocks and 59 digs. Notre Dame, they had a lot of blocks. They had a whopping 21 blocks. You would think with a team that had 21 blocks, they would have won. Unfortunately, that is not the case, as the Fighting Irish just didn't have enough fight in them to pull off the upset, as they were led by Morgan Garrett, who had 16 kills. Sydney Helmers had 11 kills, and Chichi Naji had 10 kills. It was not enough for Notre Dame to pull off the win over Pitt at home, as you got to feel bad for the Fighting Irish. But like I said, the ACC is just stacked from top to bottom, and you just can't like take your foot off the gas for 1 second. You also had number 9 Wisconsin sweeping number 23 UCLA. Number 10 Texas A&M swept Oklahoma. Number 11 TCU took down Kansas State in 4. Number 13 Creighton swept St. John's. We had two upsets from the Big Ten. First, we had Washington taking down number 17 Penn State in 5. Now, remember when I said that Penn State's win over Wisconsin might actually be the win that helps propel them back to the top, or at least help turn their season around? Well, that win was kind of short-lived, as Washington escaped, but they almost got reverse swept. Thankfully for Washington, they were able to see Alexa Markley save the day, as she had 16 kills and 13 digs. Kirsten Barton had 14 kills to go along with 9 digs, and Simona Mateska had 13 kills to go along with 14 digs. Surprisingly, Washington only played 7 players, and yet they still wound up winning, which is surprising, as the Huskies had a hitting percentage of .285. They had 8 blocks and 74 digs, while the Nittany Lions, they had 67 digs, only 3 blocks as a team, and they hit .176. So, yeah, those defensive statistics aren't really going to help a team win, especially in the Big Ten. So, I think for Penn State, I want to say that they've kind of been living on the edge in terms of 5 setters. They needed 5 to beat Princeton. They needed 5, I think, to beat Northwestern. Oh, actually, no, I think it was 4 to beat Northwestern. They needed 5 to beat Maryland. But, yeah, this Penn State team hasn't really been the Penn State team that most people have been saying. I'll say it before, I'll say it again. I know they had to deal with the likes of Izzy Stark. I wouldn't say departing from the team, but Izzy Stark stepping away from the team due to mental health reasons. But honestly, I just think Penn State just is a little inconsistent, in my opinion. And that's no disrespect to their team. They have the team. Kennedy Martin is a fantastic player. It's just that I just think with all this turmoil and whatnot, I think that Penn State just is not the Penn State that we all saw last year. And for good reason. I know Penn State wasn't really put on a pedestal early on, but with all the losses that they've suffered and now losing to Washington, it'll be a miracle if they are a top 16 team or they get to host the first couple rounds. But I digress. Anyway, speaking of the Big Ten, we had another Big Ten upset. We had Oregon taking it down, number 18, Minnesota in 4. Now, if you've been living under a rock, you should know already that Minnesota is, well, unless you're living under a rock, you should already know that Minnesota is banged up. 4 of their starters are now out for the year. The Ducks were led by Alana Clemente, who had 13 kills. Sophia Myers and Valentina Vallet, they both had 12 kills. Cora Taylor had 14 digs to go along with 45 assists. As a team, Oregon hit 270. They only had 4 blocks as a team, and they had 60 digs. But Minnesota only had a whopping 40 digs on the night. Their block was good, though. I'll give them credit on their block. They had 11 blocks, but 40 digs is not going to help you win in the Big Ten, as Kelly Kinney had 11 kills to lead the Golden Gophers, while Julia Hansen and Lourdes Myers both had 7 kills. You know Minnesota wasn't at their best when Julia Hansen only had 7 kills and she hit under 100. So that was kind of a concern right there. And Minnesota, look, I know Minnesota's battling a bunch of injuries, but I just don't think Minnesota is the team that they started off being. I think ever since they suffered the loss to Minnesota, they just haven't been the same. And for good reason. I know they have been banged up all year, and I know it's the next player up. But honestly, I just don't think Minnesota has the depth to keep up with the rest of the Big Ten. And just like Penn State, they'll be fortunate to be a top 16 team to host the first couple of rounds of the NCAA tournament. Then we had Baylor taking down Cincinnati. Number 20 Baylor taking down Cincinnati in 4. You had number 25 USC taking down Iowa in 4. You had number 21 North Carolina sweeping Boston College. Don't look now, but the Tar Heels, yes, North Carolina, they're actually first place in the ACC. Go figure. I don't think I would have uttered those words. Also on Friday, we had Long Beach State sweeping Hawaii. That was actually televised on ESPNU. And I just got to say, that's actually going to be the last time those two teams will be playing in the pyramid in the regular season as Big West Conference members. You got to remember, Hawaii is moving on to the Mountain West, and Long Beach State still staying in the Big West. My big thing is, will Long Beach State and Hawaii continue the rivalry? I hope they do. I spoke with Natalie Regan during a spring match, and she said that Hawaii and Long Beach State are still going to try to keep the rivalry going, whether Long Beach has to go down to Hawaii twice or Hawaii has to come down to Long Beach twice. They're going to try to keep the rivalry alive, and I hope that they do so. And hopefully they have a little bit of a token, like a trophy as well, but I digress. Jumping to Saturday, we had number 7 Arizona State taking down Utah in 4. Nice win on the road right there. That's not an easy place to win at. Then you had number 17 Penn State taking down Oregon in 4. I think that was kind of a bounce back game for Penn State, and I would say that was a letdown spot for Oregon, but beating 2 ranked opponents in the span of 1 week is a lot of work for the Ducks. So I wouldn't be too ashamed of Oregon losing to Penn State, but it is what it is. Then you had number 18, Minnesota, taking down Washington in 4. Just like Oregon, I think it was kind of a tall task for the Huskies to beat 2 ranked teams in 1 week. I know they had the home court advantage, but Minnesota, they were kind of playing for pride and playing not to get bumped down in terms of the rankings. Then you had number 19 BYU bouncing back and taking down Texas Tech in straight sets. You had number 24 Colorado outlasting West Virginia in 5. Unfortunately, no Country Road Take Me Home being played for the Mountaineers, as the Buffs were able to inch out the win, as they were led by Anna Burlovic, who had 21 kills, while Sydney Jordan and Kayla Payne both had 12 kills. Colorado hit 267, as they also had 13 blocks and 46 digs. West Virginia, on the other hand, they had a whopping 63 digs, and they had only 9 blocks as a team. They hit 201. The Mountaineers were led by Cassidy Tanton, who had 17 kills, while Nina Horning added 16 kills. Trinity Sheridan had 14 kills, but it wasn't enough as Colorado escaped with the win. So nice win right there. Solid win, if you ask me, because West Virginia is having a sneaky good season. I just think that Colorado they're also still having a great season on their behalf. So can't sleep on the Buffs. And the Big 12, I think, is still up for grabs. Sunday, we had number 1 Nebraska sweeping Michigan. The Huskers continue to roll as they're not slowing down for anybody. Then you had a triple header on ESPN. You had the first one being number 6 Pitt taking down number 4 Louisville in 5. That was a fun one. Really fun matchup right there. And it did not disappoint as Pitt was able to I wouldn't say get revenge. I just think that this was kind of the match, one of the de facto matches in the ACC. And for some of last year's team, aka Olivia Babcock, they knew they had to take this personally because Louisville was the team that ended their season last year in the NCAA tournament, as the Panthers were led by Olivia Babcock, who had, get this, 41 kills. She had 41 kills out of Pitt's 76. I don't think we're going to see any more of those numbers in a match like that. Like, that's just ridiculous right there. I've never seen anybody have 41 kills in one match. Those are like video game-like numbers, as she has to be the AVCA Player of the Week. If she's not, we riot. Anyway, she also had 8 digs as well, as Blair Bayless had 11 kills. Pitt as a team, they hit 313, and Babcock as an individual, she hit 423. Louisville was led by Chloe Chicoine, who had 16 kills and 9 digs. Calissa Blackshear added 14 kills. Peyton Pearson, she had 9 kills. Louisville as a team, they hit 270. They had a whopping 12 blocks as a team, and then 47 digs. And then Pitt had 56 digs. So overall, it was a great win for Louisville, or not Louisville, great effort from Louisville, but a better win from Pitt. I just think that Pitt is going to go as far as Olivia Babcock can take them, just because she is just a one-woman wrecking crew. And honestly, she is just outright impressive. Unfortunately for Louisville, they just didn't have the answer. I just felt that I think Louisville could have taken that match, but Babcock, as the old saying goes, when you're hot, you're hot. And they just had no answer for her. So there was that matchup right there. That was the first of the triple header. Then the second of the triple header, we had number 3 Kentucky outlasting Florida in a 5-set barn burner. This was a good win for Kentucky, a character win at that, as they needed 5 to take down the Gators, but this is basically an old school rivalry match in terms of like NCAA women's volleyball, as Eva Hudson led the way with 21 kills and 13 digs. Brooklyn DeLay had 20 kills and 10 digs. As a team, Kentucky hit only 201. They had 16 blocks as a team, though. So what they kind of lacked in the offensive department, they made up for in the defensive department. They also had 76 digs, while Florida, they had 14 blocks as a team and 72 digs. And Florida as a team, they only hit 120, as they were led by Jordan Bird, who had 7. Sorry about that. Little technical glitch right there. But Jordan Bird, she had 17 kills, while Anaya Madkin had 9 kills. Alec Roth had 14 kills. Overall, for Florida, it was another great effort by them. And, man, if they had beaten Kentucky, I think I would have given them my team of the week. But, unfortunately, it was just to no avail. So, it sucks for Kentucky. It sucks for Florida. I know Kentucky needed everything and more to try to beat Florida, but it shows that Florida is just still pretty darn good despite not being ranked. Anyway, so next up we had the final match of the triple header. We had Texas versus Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. The first set, Texas was able to take it fairly okay. It was close, but they were able to take it 25-23. Little less stress in the second set. Third set, Oklahoma kind of snuck away with that third set. And then the fourth set, Texas was able to pretty much cruise their way to winning that fourth set, as the Longhorns, they were led by Tori Stafford, who had 17 kills. Abby Vanderwall had 15 kills. Kari Spears continues her freshman campaign. She had 13 kills. As a team, Texas hit 308. They only had 40 digs, and they only had 6 blocks, but I will say this, their offense kind of made up for it. Even though Oklahoma hit 278 and they also had 13 and a half blocks, they only had 1 service ace. They missed 15 serves, and they only had 33 digs, as Alexis Shelton led the way for the Sooners with 22 kills. Imani Bush had 11 kills as well. Unfortunately, it was just not enough. Oklahoma is still having a great season. They're kind of teetering toward being the on the bubble team, but I think they're still having a great season. It's just that I think they're just not on the level of Texas. There's simply put. Then you had number 8 SMU taking down Notre Dame in straight sets. You had number 5 Stanford taking down Miami in 4. I thought this was going to be an intriguing matchup right here, but I had a feeling that Stanford was going to win this one. Miami was obviously coming off of the loss to Cal, and Stanford knew it could ill afford to lose if they want to win the ACC. As the Cardinal was led by Aaliyah Rubin, who had 17 kills. Julia Blashoff had 15 kills. Jordan Harvey had 18 kills. Stanford as a team, they hit a whopping 357. They had 14.5 blocks, and they had 45 digs. While Miami, they had only 6 blocks as a team. They hit 225, and they had 50 digs. Flo Marie Heredia Colon led the way with 20 kills and 10 digs. They also got 11 kills from Miriam Mushkudiani, and Dahlia Wilson added 10 kills as well. But unfortunately, it was just not enough. A tough road trip for Miami of Florida. Unfortunately, it just didn't go their way. Again, this is kind of where Miami wishes that Stanford and Cal were not part of the ACC, which doesn't make any sense. Cal and Stanford are West Coast teams joining an East Coast conference. I will still never get that to this day, but I digress. Anyway, moving on. We had Texas A&M sweeping Arkansas, Creighton sweeping Seton Hall, Purdue sweeping Rutgers, Tennessee sweeping Auburn, number 21 North Carolina taking down Syracuse in 4, Indiana taking down Ohio State in 4, UCLA sweeping Iowa. Again, don't look now, but North Carolina is the lone team that's all alone in first place in the ACC. Well, we'll see how they do against Louisville this week, but time will tell. Then we had this upset from the Big Ten, and it's about time we get this big win. Number 25 USC taking down number 9 Wisconsin in 4. If memory serves me correct, that's only USC's second top 10 win against an opponent in the Brad Keller era, which is a very good win on the behalf of the women of Troy. And I was a little skeptical of what USC could do on the road against Wisconsin, because the Dungeon, as most Wisconsin fans call it, is not an easy place to win at. But USC did that, as London Wajay led the way with 24 kills. Adania Famuina had 13 kills. Abigail Mullen had 12 kills. Mia Taverdi, she had 9 kills. The women of Troy hit 228. They had 12 blocks, and they had 80 digs. 25 of them went to Taylor Deckert, which she just continues to have a great freshman season. I think she is one of the more underappreciated and underrated liberos out there. In Wisconsin, they were led by Mimi Collier, who had 23 kills and 10 digs. Una Vahajic had 15 kills and 14 digs. As a team, Wisconsin hit 223. They had 71 digs, and they had a whopping 12 blocks as a team. Unfortunately, it was just not enough, as the Badgers, look, I don't really want to say that Charlie Furbringer would have helped Wisconsin win, but you have a lot of talent on your team. You also had Alicia Andrew and Carter Booth both having 8 kills as well. And they also saw the return of Grace Egan, who had 13 digs to along with 3 kills. Unfortunately, it was just not enough, as Wisconsin, man, this isn't really the most convenient of all losses. I know they're still 6-2 in the Big Ten, but losing to SC on your home floor, I think that could have definitely been avoided in terms of losing to that team. And it just goes to show that this is pretty much this is pretty much Nebraska's conference to lose at this point, just because Wisconsin, without Charlie Furbringer, I just don't think this team has that it factor to win. And again, that's no disrespect to Wisconsin as a whole. I think with Charlie Furbringer, this team definitely has a cleaner look to their team. But until I see them kind of taking that next big step, I just don't think that Wisconsin has that it factor. And USC is a team that has a lot of young players on their team. They're starting like 3 freshmen, like Mullen and Deckert. So I think for USC, this is a big win for their team, for their young team. But if you're Wisconsin, you got to do a little soul searching, just because this loss could have definitely been avoided. And that's no disrespect to USC, because I'm happy USC won. As someone who really supports Brad Keller, who's a good friend of Brad Keller and someone who is in the Southern California area, I'm happy for USC. Like, if anything, I'd really like for USC to be a top 16 team so that they could host the first couple rounds of the NCAA tournament. I would be there in a heartbeat. But I digress. Anyway, so that's that for the NCAA Women's Volleyball Week 8 recap. So the NCAA Division I Women's Volleyball Committee announced the top 16 teams. So here they are on the screen. You got Nebraska 1, Texas 2, Pitt 3, Kentucky 4, SMU 5, Louisville 6, Arizona State 7, Purdue 8, TCU 9, Creighton 10, Stanford 11, Wisconsin 12. That's going to probably change. Texas A&M 13, Indiana 14, Penn State 15, and then Minnesota 16. So this was announced right at the Louisville-Pitt match. So in case you're wondering, Minnesota shouldn't be in that top 16, and neither should Wisconsin. Well, you maybe should have told the committee that before the whole thing happened. But that's your top 16. I mean, I don't think Minnesota is deserving of the top 16, not just because of the Oregon loss. I mean, I know they haven't really, they're banged up, but I don't think if they were a top 16 team, they'd win a match in terms of the NCAA tournament. I think they'd win one match, but I don't think they'd go deep. I think they'd struggle to get out of the round of 32. And again, this is no disrespect to Minnesota. I get it. They're banged up. They have a lot of injuries, especially to 4 of their starters. But I just don't think they're worthy of being a top 16 team. And I don't think they're fully worthy of hosting the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. But we shall see what happens when it comes to Minnesota. I think Penn State's kind of on the bubble of hosting in the first couple rounds. I mean, they have the win over Wisconsin, but Wisconsin didn't have Charlie Furbringer. I mean, you have a possible ABCA Player of the Year candidate in Kennedy Martin. And I get Penn State's also kind of gone through some growing pains. But honestly, I just don't think Penn State, being the reigning national champion that they are, isn't fully deserving. I think Penn State, if they don't lose and if they don't have any more bad losses on their resume, I think they can host and they deserve to host. But honestly, I still need to see more from this Penn State team. And then same can be said for Wisconsin. Until they can figure out what they can do in regards to not having Charlie Furbringer, I don't know if Wisconsin is ultimately deserving of being a top 16 team. I think they will. It's just that I think they'll probably be like a 14, 15, or 16 seed, based on if barring they don't pull any upsets, or if they don't lose any more bad matches. But yeah, I think the top 4 is fine. I think Pitt at number 3 is perfect. Kentucky at number 4 is perfect because Pitt beat Kentucky. Texas is number 2. I mean, you can make the argument for who should be the number 1 overall seed, but I feel we are on a collision course to seeing Texas and Nebraska facing one another in the national championship. But you just can't count out Pitt. You just can't count out Louisville. You can't count out Kentucky. You can't count out SMU either. SMU, I think, might be the best kept secret in NCAA women's volleyball. Also, don't count out Arizona State either. I don't know about Purdue. I mean, them being number 8 is very gracious. I just don't know if they can. I don't know if they'll make it to. If I had to predict, I'd probably say that Purdue doesn't really make the Sweet 16. I think I'd say they make it to the Sweet 16, but I don't think they go any farther than that. Anyway, that's pretty much that when it comes to the selection committee's top 16. Who are some of your teams that stood out in terms of week 8 of the NCAA women's volleyball season? Just let me know, and let's move on to the AVCA Terraflex Division I Women's Volleyball poll for this week. This time I got the date correct. So this week, as we all know, Pitt is back in the top 5, which is deserving on their behalf. Texas earned 3 first-place votes. Nebraska is still number 1. USC had the biggest jump, going from 25 to 22, which is well-deserving on their behalf. Pitt and BYU also jumped up 2 spots as well, which I thought was pretty impressive, if you ask me. Wisconsin had a little bit of a dip. They really need to figure out the whole situation without Charlie Furbringer, but nothing too out of the ordinary in terms of movement and whatnot. So that's pretty much that for the AVCA / Terraflex Division I Women's Volleyball poll. So moving on, that ain't it. Week 9 preview, not the flashiest of matchups. Tuesday, I'm actually I will be late to this matchup, but I'm gonna be at UC Irvine for the UC Irvine Hawaii matchup. It's gonna be interesting for Hawaii just because if they lose that matchup, one must ask the question: can Hawaii still make the Big West Conference tournament? Because only 6 teams advance to the tournament. I know Davis is gonna make it. Cal Poly should make it. Long Beach should make it. Who else would probably make it? Santa Barbara should make it. And man, if there's ever a team that needs to make the tournament, it's the Big West Conference tournament. It's that team. Santa Barbara, if you all remember last year, they wound up missing the Big West Conference tournament just because, unfortunately, they lost on the last day to UC Riverside, and they wound up UC Irvine beat Hawaii, which was pretty surprising. So if the regular season ended today, Davis and Long Beach State would be atop the Davis and Long Beach State would be number 1 and number 2. Cal Poly would be 3. Santa Barbara would be 4. CSUN would be number 5. And contrary to popular belief, Hawaii would actually be the 6th seed because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker over UC Riverside. I don't care what anyone says. Hawaii actually would have the tiebreaker over UC Riverside, but it'll be interesting. I think UC Irvine is not indicative of their record. This feels like it's one of the more down years in the Big West, just because San Diego needed 4 took Long Beach State to 4 on the road. UC Irvine, they're 7-13, but I think that's the most misguiding 7-13 record out there, just because that team does have a lot of talent. I just think that they're not catching a whole lot of breaks, and they've played a fairly challenging schedule. Fullerton is improved. Hawaii, you can never count out. Riverside is also improved. I mean, they took Hawaii to 5. I mean, what else could you say about that? But more on the Big West Conference later. But I'll be at Hawaii at UC Irvine tomorrow. I'm probably going to be late, but honestly, I will be there because I got a PA announce a match prior to that. So hopefully the UC Irvine Hawaii match doesn't end before I get there, because that would be downright irritating. Anyway, so there's that on Tuesday. So now let's get on into the Wednesday matchups. So TCU Kansas, that's going to be a fun one in the Big 12. Oregon, UCLA. I want to see what Oregon can do against UCLA on the road. I think this would be a big win for Oregon. I mean, last time they went out to the West Coast or Southern California, they got swept by USC. But I want to see what UCLA can do. This is kind of a tricky matchup for the Bruins. And you also have number 24 Colorado at Texas Tech next. And then Thursday, we have number 9 BYU at number 20 Baylor, or BYU Baylor, in the battle of the ranked versus ranked. All right, this one's going to be a fun one just because I want to see what BYU can do outside of facing an unranked team and outside of Smith Fieldhouse. Can they beat a ranked team outside of Smith Fieldhouse? I mean, Baylor is kind of teetering on the BYU and Baylor are not, there's not too much separating those two, and Baylor beating BYU would be massive. And then also on Thursday, you have number 25 USC hosting Maryland. Come on, I'm not going to go to that. Come on, we already know what's probably going to happen. SC, as long as you don't have a Wisconsin hangover, you're fine. Then Friday, you've got number 1, Nebraska hosting Northwestern. Number 2, Texas at Ole Miss. Number 3, Kentucky at Mississippi State. Louisville, Duke. Louisville's got to get off the mat somehow, and this might be the best match to do so. Duke, I wouldn't call terrible, but I don't think they're on the level of Louisville. Like, Louisville's got to get up off the mat after suffering 2 losses to SMU and Pitt in 5 sets. Then you have number 5, Stanford at Clemson. Pitt hosting NC State. SMU hosting Wake Forest. Wisconsin at Washington in the Battle of the UW. Number 11, Purdue at Illinois is an interesting matchup. I think Illinois, if they want to have any hope of maybe challenging Nebraska for the Big Ten crown, because Illinois is actually in second place in the Big Ten conference, but Purdue is kind of hot on their tail. So again, until I really want to see what Illinois can do in terms of the Big Ten conference. I mean, it seems like every year that Illinois gets so close to making the NCAA tournament, but then they fall just short. So I want to see what the Fighting Illini can do. Then you have number 10, or you have Texas A&M at LSU, Creighton at Providence, Miami hosting Virginia Tech, Kansas hosting Kansas State. That is a trap game matchup right there. I think Kansas cannot underestimate Kansas State by any means, because that's a rivalry matchup 100%. Then you have number 16 Tennessee playing at Alabama. That I think is also a trap game matchup. And I also kind of got to wonder this. Why the heck did Tennessee not move down after losing to Florida? Someone enlighten me. Anyway, Penn State is hosting Rutgers. Minnesota, Indiana, that's going to be a fun matchup. If there's ever a time for Indiana to win against an opponent ranked higher than them, there's the time. Then you got North Carolina hosting Notre Dame. And unless North Carolina has a letdown matchup, I don't see them losing. And then I think this is on Friday. If not, it's on Saturday. It's UC Davis at Cal Poly. I don't think it's there. Nope, it's not there. So it's going to be on Saturday. Saturday is when we get to see UC Davis and Cal Poly. And for context of why that's such an important matchup, let me tell you why. Okay, yeah, it's on Saturday. UC Davis at Cal Poly is a 1 p.m. start time. The reason being is because Cal Poly is undefeated they're undefeated at home, but Davis is undefeated in the Big West Conference. So something's got to give when it comes to this match. Will Cal Poly's home win streak get snapped? Will Davis's win streak overall get snapped? That's going to be a darn good matchup. That might be one of the best mid-major matchups this week. And I'm not over-exaggerating that. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Big West Conference stan. Anyway, Saturday, you've got Nebraska hosting Michigan State, Arizona State at Arizona. Sneaky good matchup. I think Arizona State should stand on business. BYU at TCU. That's going to be a very fun matchup. Let's see if TCU deserves to be in the top 10. But BYU, I also want to see them winning outside of Smith Fieldhouse. Then you got Creighton at UConn. Come on, we already know what most likely is going to happen. Colorado hosting Iowa State, UCLA hosting Maryland, and that's pretty much that. And then Sunday, you've got Texas at LSU, Kentucky at Alabama. This one's an intriguing one. Number 6, Louisville playing North Carolina, or number 8, Louisville playing number 21, North Carolina. I think this one is an interesting matchup. North Carolina is all alone in first place in that ACC. However, I think this one has massive challenge written all over it for the Tar Heels. If they want to prove they're the ACC's best, they got to beat Louisville. I doubt Louisville's going to lose to Duke. If they do, then Louisville's got a problem. But this is the first big challenge for North Carolina. If they want to prove that they're the ACC's best, they got to beat one of the ACC's best. Then you got Stanford at Georgia Tech. A little bit of a sneaky good matchup right there. I mean, if this were a few years ago, I'd say yes. But Stanford should be able to handle Georgia Tech. I know Georgia Tech is a tough place to win at, but Cardinal, barring any sort of collapse, they should be fine. SMU hosts NC State. Wisconsin is at Oregon. That's gonna be a little bit of a homecoming for Mimi Collier. So if there is any storyline with that, it'll be Mimi Collier's homecoming back to Oregon. I'm sure she's gonna get a good reception. I mean, obviously Oregon got hit hard in terms of their roster. Obviously, with Matt Ulmer going to Kansas, Mimi Collier jumping into the transfer portal, as well as a bunch of others. So that's the big storyline right there. And you have number 9 Texas A&M playing at Ole Miss. Minnesota-Purdue is an interesting matchup. This is a tough week for Minnesota. They're banged up, and they're playing 2 ranked opponents on the road. If they go 2-0 this week, color me impressed, and that team deserves to be in the discussion of being a top 16 team. Then you got Miami hosting Virginia, Tennessee at Mississippi State, Penn State at The Ohio State, Indiana hosting Northwestern, and then USC hosting Washington. So there's that right there in terms of some of the notable matchups. I had to pretty much skim through most of that because we are almost an hour into this. So we're going to take ourselves a little bit of a commercial break. When we come back, we've got some high school girls volleyball to discuss. We've got some pro volleyball, indoor, and beach to discuss, and a lot more. So keep it locked here. You're listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing, from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And without any further delay, let's get on into the second half of our show. So we're going to try to make this not too long, but honestly, we're already an hour into this whole thing. So I don't want to make this next part too long, but we're going to talk some high school girls volleyball. So the CIF Southern section has released its division, has released all the brackets for purposes of, I don't want to get into all the brackets because we're already an hour into this thing. I'm only going to make this exclusive to Division 1, which is where most of the nationally ranked teams are. But your top, it's actually a 12-team bracket, and here are all your seeds. Number 1 seed is Sierra Canyon. That's no surprise right there. The number 2 seed is Redondo Union. I wouldn't say that's too big of a surprise, but honestly, it's like they've had an up and down year. They've beaten Mater Dei, which is pretty good, but honestly, it's like they also have a few losses here and there. They lost to Los Alamitos. They beat Marymount, but lost to Marymount. They beat Sierra Canyon, but lost to Sierra Canyon. So Redondo has been a little up and down. They beat Miracosta last week, which was a very impressive win by the Seahawks. It was actually their first win over the Mustangs in the best 3 out of 5 format since 2019. So a great win for Redondo Union. Great win for Tommy Chafin's club. Number 3 seed is Mater Dei, last year's Division 1 champion in the Southern section. 4 seed is Marymount. They're having a solid year. They wound up winning Durango. Can't argue with that. Number 5 seed is Miracosta, which they're having a great year, honestly. They have some wins here and there. I mean, there's nothing too bad about Miracosta. They've played a challenging schedule as well, so I can't disagree with that. Okay, here's where I kind of disagree. The 6th seed is Harvard Westlake. Now, forgive me, Harvard Westlake fans, but I don't get why Harvard Westlake's the 6th seed. I kind of get it, but I don't get it. It's like they haven't really beaten anybody, but they don't have any bad losses. Some of their losses include twice to Marymount, twice to Sierra Canyon, 1 time to Miracosta, 1 time to Bishop Gorman in the Durango tournament, and then they also lost to Cornerstone Christian. But 6th seed? This team is not a 6th seed. They're a 7th seed at best. They haven't beaten anyone of significance. I get it. They have 0 bad losses. But why are we giving Harvard Westlake a pass for being in a tough league? Like, man, like, I don't get it. Anyway, so the 7th seed is San Juan Hills. That is a team that is maybe the most dangerous because they have one of the more premier players in Megan Hodges. And they also have some other good players like Bella Tercios, Whitney Port, who's committed to Utah State, Jordan Hopp, and a bunch of other talented players on that team too. So San Juan Hills might be the dark horse of this bracket. And I'm not saying that because their mascot is the Stallions. Anyway, so the 8th seed is Temecula Valley. That is an interesting team right there. They wound up winning the Southwestern League. They only have 3 losses all year, 2 of which were in the best 2 out of 3 format, coming from the Dave Mose tournament. And then their other loss was to Marietta Valley, which was last year's Division 2 champion, which isn't too bad. But they're an interesting team. The 9th seed is Oaks Christian, who will be Temecula Valley's opponent. That one, I could see why Oaks Christian is the number 9 seed. They didn't really have the best showing in the Redondo Power Classic, but they did play in a pretty darn good Miramonte league, which I think might be one of the best leagues, Miramonte leagues, that's had in present years. So the Oaks Christian is the 9th seed. I maybe could debate on putting them at 10, just because this team I think has a little bit more of an impressive resume, and that is Los Alamitos. Los Alamitos wound up winning the Sunset League. They only have 1 loss in California, and that was to Mater Dei, which there's no shame in losing to them. Most of their other losses were in either Durango tournament or the Ankang tournament, which is in Nevada and Hawaii respectfully. But Los Alamitos might be the most dangerous team in this tournament because they have a win over Redondo Union. They beat Newport Harbor twice in league, albeit one of the times Newport Harbor wasn't 100%, though they did lose to Newport Harbor in the Durango tournament. Like Los Alamitos doesn't have any bad losses. I mean, you could maybe make the debate. I could see why they're number 10. I mean, I don't really think they deserve to be ranked higher than Harvard Westlake because they actually had to go 5 a bunch of times in the Sunset League. Whereas Harvard Westlake, they've played a challenging schedule. They've played the number 4 and number 1 seed twice and whatnot. So yeah. Number 11 is Crean. The number 11 seed is Crean Lutheran, which if you see their strength of schedule rating, it's bad. It's like 1.5678 and whatnot. It's not really supposed to be one of the better ones. I really don't agree with Crean Lutheran being the 11 seed. Personally, I think they deserve to be the 12 seed. If not, they deserve to be bumped out of Division I entirely. Like, if anything, look, Crean Lutheran only has 2 losses. But one of their losses came in league against I think their co-champion. I think it was either Sunny Hills or Cypress. Either way, if Crean Lutheran was a Division I team, they would have won their league outright. And the league that they're in isn't really the league you ride home about. It's not on the level of the Trinity League or the Sunset League or the Bay League or the Mission League or by any means. So I kind of don't understand why Crean Lutheran, even though they only have 2 losses, they've got 20-plus wins, and they've won a tournament this year, they're seeded 11. Because the next team that I'm about to go over, the number 12 seed, I think deserves to be ranked higher, and that's Newport Harbor. Now, I'm going to sound a lot biased for saying this just because I am a Newport Harbor alum, but honestly, Newport Harbor, with the schedule that they've played, I don't understand why they're seated behind Crean Lutheran. Like, Newport Harbor, I think, got the worst end of this deal. First of all, it's a 12-team bracket, and they were the final team in. So that's really bad on their behalf. Second of all, I will admit they did have a few losses along the way. I mean, some of their losses include twice to Los Alamitos, but one of those times they didn't have Ella Olson, who's committed to Texas. They lost to Jay Sarah and Santa Margarita in the Dave Most tournament, which, just like before, the Jay Sarah loss, they didn't have Ella Olson and Kaden Klausing, as well as they lost to San Clemente that day as well. The Santa Margarita loss could have been definitely avoided, but Santa Margarita was missing a few of its players as well, aka Ireland Real. Durango was a little bit of a challenge. I knew they weren't going to really excel in that. But other than that, I think Newport Harbor makes an argument to being seated higher than Crean based off of strength of schedule alone. I don't get why Crean Lutheran gets a pass for having a not so good strength of schedule. I think Newport Harbor deserves to be number 11 and Crean Lutheran deserves to be 12. I'm not trying to discount Crean Lutheran to saying that they're not deserving of being in Division I and they're not deserving of their current seed. I'm just saying that if you compare the strength of schedule or you flip both teams' schedule, Newport Harbor is practically going close to being undefeated in that with that schedule, while Crean Lutheran would probably struggle to would be lucky to crack 500. But I digress. Anyway, so this 12-team bracket has the top 4 seeds getting buys. So Sierra Canyon, Marymount, Mater Dei, and Redondo Union all have buys. So now it's time for me to do the worst part of this whole thing, make predictions. So my prediction. So we'll start off with the first round. Temecula Valley, Oaks Christian. Temecula Valley is the host team. Man, this one's a tough one. I really think this one can go either way. I mean, Oaks Christian, if I recall correctly, they have the younger sister of Manaya Obeche, and Oaks Christian did tie for first in the Miramonte League. That being said, Temecula Valley, obviously the Southwestern League is really darn good, obviously with teams like Murrieta Mesa, Murrieta Valley, forget who else kind of qualified from that league. You get what I mean. But either way, this is a tough one to predict. I mean, Oaks Christian, I think, has been more battle-tested, but Temecula Valley in their league, they don't have too many bad losses. I'm going to play it safe and say Oaks Christian pulls the win. This one's going to be close, though. I think Oaks Christian definitely has some firepower to their team. Temecula Valley has one of the better outsides who can pass really well. I just think Oaks Christian will inch this one out. I think this one's a 50-50 match, but I think Oaks Christian pulls off the win. Next matchup you have is Newport Harbor at Miracosta. All right, this one's kind of a nostalgic matchup, and I kind of figured we'd get this matchup. And I hate and love this matchup for multiple reasons. One, it's Miracosta Newport Harbor. This is kind of the OG old school girls volleyball rivalry matchup. But that being said, look, Newport Harbor, they've had such a great year under first-year head coach Pat Eaton, and Ella Olson is a stud. But honestly, she can't carry this team by herself. I mean, Piper Cody is good, but she still is learning and growing herself. So as much as I want to pick Newport Harbor to win this, I got to go with Miracosta. They've got Audrey Flanagan, Simone Roslin, Millie McGee. The list goes on and on. I think Miracosta being battle-tested all around is what gives Miracosta the edge. I would not be surprised if Newport Harbor pulled the upset, though. Then you've got Harvard Westlake Crean Lutheran. Okay, this one, no offense. Okay, this one's kind of a no-brainer. I got to go with Harvard Westlake. This one is kind of the icky matchup right here, just because I don't think too highly of either of these teams. But honestly, I think Harvard Westlake beats Crean Lutheran. Crean Lutheran has not been as battle-tested as Harvard Westlake has. I think the Wolverines will definitely dominate this matchup. Look, Crean Lutheran has no business being in Division I, and that's saying that with all due respect. Just because Crean Lutheran, they have a good team. It's just that I feel that they're now in a big pond and they're a little fish. So if they're in Division II, I think I'd give them a shot at winning this whole thing. But Harvard Westlake over Crean Lutheran. And then this is going to be a fun matchup. San Juan Hills hosting Los Alamitos. This one is the best match of the first round. And I'm going to feel so bad for one of these teams that loses, just because, which you're about to see in a little bit. Oh, man. Los Alamitos, they're a good team. And to go deeper into context, Los Alamitos actually had one of the better setters in Royal Banducci. Unfortunately, she made the decision to just play club volleyball and not high school volleyball. So they had to go with Caitlin Rother, and she's really taken that setter position and ran with it. They also have Caitlin Herwig. They also have Bryn Minter. Charlotte Hall, I think, is maybe one of the more underrated class of 2027 players. That being said, this one is a tough matchup to predict. This is another 50-50 matchup. I'm going to say San Juan Hills wins it. I think Los Alamitos is a good team, but ever since San Juan Hills lost to San Clemente in 4, they have not lost ever since. They're on a 15-match win streak, and that's saying a lot about the Stallions. It says that they're a really good team, and they don't fully bank on Megan Hodges. Hodges is their best player, but they've got other players that could step up, which I think is incredible. I think the reason why San Juan Hills didn't have the success last year is because they were young, they were inexperienced, and Megan Hodges, as a freshman, was leading their team. Now Megan Hodges, the sophomore, is leading their team, and the San Juan Hills team, I think it's going to be a barn burner. If Los Alamitos pushes the match to 5, San Juan Hills is in trouble. But I think San Juan Hills is going to make the correct adjustments to take down Los Alamitos. And I don't want to hear any crap from Dave Huber or any crap from Los Alamitos players or any fans or whatnot. But I say that with all due respect to Los Alamitos, but I think the Stallions inch out the win. And then I would have Sierra Canyon Oaks Christian in the quarterfinals. Long story short, Sierra Canyon makes it to the semifinals. Sierra Canyon will advance to the semifinals, guarantee it. And then Marymount Miracosta will be an interesting matchup. Man, I wonder about this matchup. Marymount did reverse sweep Miracosta in the first meeting in the regular season, but oh my God, Marymount can go as far as McKenna Barnes is serving, and McKenna Barnes and Ellie Vandaway can take them. I honestly think that this one's another 50-50 matchup. You know what? Give me Miracosta over Marymount. Or whoever, yeah. If Marymount beats, or if Miracosta beats Newport Harbor, I have Miracosta beating Marymount. If Newport Harbor somehow pulls off the upset against Miracosta, I have Marymount beating Newport Harbor. I just think that Marymount against Newport Harbor is a bad matchup for the Sailors because Marymount has a lot of height on their team. Miracosta, on the other hand, I think that's a bad matchup for Marymount because they too can serve aggressively, and they have a lot of height on their team as well. So give me Miracosta to advance to the semifinals. And then Mater Dei Harvard Westlake, this one's a no-brainer. Mater Dei will advance to the semifinals. Mater Dei is too good to be losing to Harvard Westlake, and I say that with all due respect to the Wolverines. Interestingly enough, so the semifinals will be on. Oh no, the quarterfinals will be on Tuesday. I guess I could have saved the my quarterfinals and semifinals predictions for later, but whatever. So I'll take Mater Dei over Harvard Westlake, and then Redondo Union against San Juan Hills. This one's another tough matchup. If you had told me 2 weeks ago who would win between Los Alamitos and or San Juan Hills against Redondo Union, I actually would have picked Los Alamitos or San Juan Hills over Redondo. But now that Redondo Union has the Junk Twins, Avery and Addie back, now that they're clicking on all cylinders with Sienna Castillo on the right side, now that Abby Zimmerman is just on a tear, now that Abby Harrell is getting her swings in the middle along with Taylor Boyce. And also don't forget about Leah Blair. She passes really well, and she even swings very well, even though she's not like the height of Abby Zimmerman. But with all due respect to San Juan Hills, they're a good team. I just think playing on the road against Redondo Union will be tough. So give me the Seahawks. And then the semifinals, I've got Miracosta versus Sierra Canyon. This one can go either way, but honestly, I got Sierra Canyon making it to the final. I think Sierra Canyon, Miracosta is going to be a banger. I think no matter who Sierra Canyon draws, it's not going to be a walk in the park. But I think Sierra Canyon wins their semifinal match, and they advance to the final. And now for the other semifinal, I have Redondo Union taking on Mater Dei. Man, this one's another tough matchup. I mean, Redondo is definitely playing on their A game, but you got to consider this. That win over Mater Dei has a little bit of a question mark because Mater Dei was not at full strength. Laylee Ostavar wasn't playing all 6 rotations. She was just playing back row. They didn't have Addison Cody. Most of Mater Dei's players weren't eligible just because of the whole CIF clearance thing. So, look, man, I'm going to disappoint Tommy Chaffins with this, but I got to go with Mater Dei. Mater Dei is the reigning CIF Southern Section Division I champion from back-to-back years. And I think with their full team, I think they're going to be so much more prepared than the first time around when they took on Redondo Union. But I think Redondo will give them a battle. I just think Mater Dei, with their full team, with Kalia Lee, with Ademi Fum, I forget her last name, but the right side who transferred from Redondo Union, with all their players at full strength, and being eligible, as well as like Lizzie Robinson, I think they will be just fine. So I think Mater Dei will definitely beat Redondo Union. So my projected Division I final is Sierra Canyon Mater Dei. I'm just going to say this right here and now. I am prepared to eat a lot of crow if I'm wrong on any of these matchups, which I'm about to put up right now, here and there. Well, here's the ticker right now. But I am definitely prepared to eat a lot of crow on any matchups I get. And to the other 10 teams who I don't have making it to the final, or to the other teams that I picked against, you're welcome for the bulletin board material. But that's pretty much my bracket right there. Oaks Christian, Miracosta, Harvard Westlake, and San Juan Hills advance out of round 1. And then Sierra Canyon, Miracosta, Mater Dei, and Redondo Union advance out of the quarterfinals. And then Sierra Canyon and Mater Dei advance to the final. So the final is going to be on November 8th at Cerritos College. And that's going to be on Saturday. Thank God it's on Saturday. And there was actually speculation that the final wouldn't be played at Cerritos College because the former volleyball director, Kari Pestalacy, daughter of Tom Pestalacy, is no longer there. She's now the head volleyball director at Irvine Valley College. So there was a little bit of speculation on where the final or other finals were going to be, but there you have it. But yeah, that's pretty much my picks in Division One. Hopefully I'll have a guest on to help me talk about this whole CIF Southern Section girls volleyball thing, but that's pretty much it right there. Again, but I actually do want to talk about the Division One bracket as a whole. So my thoughts on the Division One bracket, and yeah, I'm just going to tell you all this. I'll just put the seeds back up and the Division One matchups back up. I'm not too thrilled with this whole Division One bracket. I honestly do not like the whole CIF Southern Section Division One girls volleyball bracket. It's 12 teams, and here's the thing: in years past, teams last year and previous years was an 8-team format with pool play, and whoever advances out of pool play or whoever has the best record in pool play advances to the CIF Southern Section Division One final. I guess CIF decided to scrap that rule. Now, my big thing is my biggest qualm with this is that 4 teams are going to see their season come to an end. 4 really good teams are going to see their season come to an end. So the teams that I picked against, Newport Harbor, Temecula Valley, Los Alamitos, and Crean Lutheran, they could see their season come to an end. And here's the thing. They won't have state. They don't get the luxury of having state. You have to make the quarterfinals in Division 1 and I guess Division 2 to qualify for state. Anything else, you don't qualify for state and your season's over, which I think that is massively unfair. I think CIF should have honestly kept the whole, if you make Division 1, every team goes to state. I know that's unfair for some of the other teams that are playing in state, like the CIF champions or the CIF teams that qualify for state in Divisions 2 all the way down to 10. But honestly, it feels like teams are getting punished for being good in Division 1. And that's not fair for a lot of these teams. Like Newport Harbor has the worst matchup. Crean Lutheran has a pretty iffy matchup. Los Alamitos, San Juan Hills, that's going to be the matchup that I am going to dread to see because Los Alamitos and San Juan Hills are both teams that are equally deserving of making it to state and make it to the quarterfinals. But only one team can advance, and one team is going to see their season come to an end. And Temecula Valley Oaks Christian is the same thing. So I feel CIF needs to either allow every team in Division 1 to advance to state or just get rid of the whole 12-team bracket and make it go make it have an 8-team bracket, or just keep the whole pool play concept, because that's not fair for 4 teams that are going to see their season come to an end. And I'm not one to argue against CIF, and I don't want to say that CIF is making the worst decision, but this is not a good decision in my opinion, just because 4 teams are going to see their season come to an end because they worked their tails off, and it feels like you're getting punished for being good. It's like in football, where if you're really good, you're going to get put in Division 1, but you're going to face a lot of ringers like Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Sierra Canyon, you name it. It just feels like maybe that no team, like CIF is all about competitive equity, but you have teams like Sierra Canyon and Mater Dei who are just super teams, and then teams like Redondo, who are really good, who returns most of its players from last year, and then Miracosta, who returns most of its players from last year, and a bunch of other, and then Marymount, who has a bunch of D1 commits on their team, and so on and so forth. It's like, it's not fair for like some of these little teams that are trying to scrap their way into the quarterfinals and whatnot. Am I making a huge deal of this? Absolutely. But is this fair for 4 teams that are going to see their season come to an end on Wednesday? It isn't. That's just how I look at it. And honestly, I hope that CIF kind of comes together and looks at this and says, this is not a good idea. We either should have an 8-team bracket or just keep the pool play format, or just have every team go to state. Is that fair for the lower divisions? No, it's not. But if you're in Division 1, it should be more of an honor to be in Division 1 instead of a punishment. That's just how I look at it. And yeah. Anyway, so that is that right there for the CIF Southern Section girls volleyball portion, or the high school girls volleyball portion. Moving on to professional volleyball, LOVB actually announced on Wednesday that the league will actually be expanding to Los Angeles. So now there are 7 teams in League One volleyball, which I think is pretty awesome if you ask me. And honestly, me personally, I'm excited when it comes to seeing LOVB Los Angeles. And honestly, a team in California was needed when it comes to LOVB. There's no dancing around it. I think a LOVB Los Angeles or any team in California would have been great. I'm happy it's in Los Angeles, because if we were in San Diego, it would have been a lot farther for me. But maybe I could make it to a LOVB match, but we shall see. My only question is, where are they going to have the match? Are they going to have it in like Intuit Dome? Are they going to have it in Crypto.com Arena? Are they going to have it at the Great Western Forum, the old Great Western Forum? I doubt they have it at SoFi Stadium, because no one wants to be in a I forget how much SoFi Stadium holds, and I'm a Chargers fan. But either way, where are they going to play their games? It'll probably be at either Intuit Dome or Crypto.com Arena, or heck, maybe they'll play it at like the Honda Center. But what's the point of calling it LOVB Los Angeles? But I digress. I don't think they're going to want to play at like Galen Center or Pauley Pavilion and whatnot, just because NCAA men's volleyball is going to be happening at that time. So there you go. So I feel there's going to be some cons, but there will be some pros to it. So that's just how I look at it. I'm ultimately happy LOVB is going to be in California, let alone Los Angeles. I just hope that LOVB Los Angeles will be able to help bring in the currency, and it'll be able to help keep LOVB afloat financially, especially with the MLV/PVF in full swing. And that's actually a perfect segue to go into the next bit of professional volleyball news. So the MLV/PVF announced on Thursday that their team from Dallas will be known as the Dallas Pulse, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. Now, just like before, I kind of wonder where Dallas is going to play their games. Are they going to play it at Dickies Arena in I think that's in Fort Worth, downtown Fort Worth? Are they going to play it at TCU? Are they going to play it at SMU? Like, that's going to be a big question mark of where the Dallas Pulse are going to play their matches this year. But it's great to see that the MLV now has another team, and it kind of makes me wish I was still with my brother in the DFW area, but we'll have to wait and see on that. My big question for you MLV fans is, should the MLV expand to Los Angeles? I know the MLV/PVF has a team in the San Diego area, the San Diego Mojo, but do you really want to see, but honestly, how much does it really get in terms of like traction? Especially at I forget where San Diego State plays its matches, but I digress. It's played at Aztec State Gymnasium and whatnot. It'll probably come to my mind, but I'd like to see MLV expand to Los Angeles, in my opinion. Give a Southern California rivalry and expose more of California to the rivalry or expose California more to MLV like PVF is to, or more like the LOVB is to with Los Angeles. If that makes any sense. I just want the MLV to expand to Southern California more, whether it's in like Orange County or whether it's in Los Angeles and whatnot. I just want to see more pro volleyball in Los Angeles, especially since the Olympics are now less than 1,000 days away, which I think is pretty awesome. I think it's 998 days away until the 2028 Olympics, which I think is going to be awesome sauce. Anyway, speaking of the United States and whatnot, that's actually a perfect segue to go into this final little bit of news. We have some FIVB news. So the U21 World Championship, which was held in Puebla, Mexico, actually featured an all-USA final. Sally Perez of UCLA and Avery Jackson of Stanford took on Zoe Henson of USC, as well as Sarah Wood, a future USC beach volleyball player. And that final was played yesterday, but in the end, Perez and Jackson was able to win. For more context of how good this final was and how rewarding this final was for Perez and Jackson actually needed to make it through the qualifier round to make it all the way to the championship match. And for them to win gold was absolutely amazing. So congratulations to Sally Perez and Avery Jackson. And also a great effort from Zoe Henson and Sarah Wood. Wood is still young and developing. She has played in some AVP tournaments, but she is a fantastic player, and USC is fortunate to have her, as well as Zoe Henson, because for some of you that don't know, Zoe Henson actually started out at Washington. She's actually from kind of close to my neck of the woods. She's from Cyprus, and one of my friends actually was her teacher. And she committed to Washington originally, but then she transferred to USC. So I think for Henson, she's got a bright future, as well as Sarah Wood. So keep an eye on those two going forward. But overall, a great showing from the women's side, the women's side of the U21 World Championship. And congratulations to both pairs on amazing tournament runs. And that is pretty much going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at anytime, anyplace, anywhere, I appreciate you. I will be back on next week for more volleyball action. And again, you'll most likely see me tomorrow at UC Irvine. It all depends on if my high school girls volleyball match that I'm PA announcing goes long. Hopefully it doesn't go too long, but we shall see. But for everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy all the volleyball action, and I will see you all hopefully tomorrow at UC Irvine. Take care, everybody. Peace.